It's a blessing to welcome on former Winthrop star and now the newest member of Texas Tech, Adonis Arms. How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
Pretty good. Well, kind of walk us through this because this has been a crazy journey for you throughout your basketball career, and you now have announced that your final place you're going to take place at for college will be at Texas Tech. How excited are you for that?
I'm excited, man. First off, I wanna give all praise to God, my Lord and Savior. First off, man. Without Him, obviously none of this is possible. I give it all to Him. So with that being said, man, this journey has been crazy. It's been long, frustrating, all those things put in one, but I wouldn't trade it for nothing. So
Mhm.
it's been great.
And now we're going to get back into your whole story now because we're going to get into your obviously Texas Tech and what it's going to look like in the end of this. But I want to go through your journey because, like I said, it's been a crazy journey, a lot of ups and downs. But let's start all the way back. You're originally from Wisconsin, Milwaukee to be specific. What was it like growing up out there?
Milwaukee is pretty wild, man. If anybody you know from there, it's a wild place. My mom really didn't want me and my sister living there, but so we left when I was about 12 years old to Arizona. But Milwaukee is my home. That's where my family is. I always loved Milwaukee, but there ain't nothing there for me.
And like you said, we see a lot of guys that come from Milwaukee. Like at the end of the day, when you look at guys that were born there, the stars are crazy. Mike Foster's obviously out in Arizona right now. He's going G League. Guy like Tyler Hero, but like you said, a lot of guys have to look for other opportunities outside the state. They go out to prep schools or other high schools. But what brought you to Arizona? Like, why is that the place you decided to come out to?
Uh, Honestly, I had no choice in the matter. My mom just liked the cactuses and the sunshine and just a different life because those things you wasn't getting in Milwaukee. She was tired of the snow, so she wanted to go somewhere else where she knew it was 100% not going to snow. So
Mm-hmm.
Arizona was number one on her list, the desert. So I love her and all her decisions that she's made for me so far, and Arizona was a great selection.
I know a lot of guys kind of decide where they want to identify from, like what state they kind of claim. So for you, is that Wisconsin or is that Arizona for you?
No, it's Milwaukee all day. Milwaukee all day. I never. That's my home. Arizona is my home too, but
Mhm.
I would rep Milwaukee over Arizona any day of the week.
And Arizona has a lot of talent too. Obviously, more recently, with a lot of the prep teams coming up, there's a lot more guys coming into Arizona. But I know you also got to get to know some guy like DT. I think Ty Ty Washington's up and coming too. But a lot of those guys in this Arizona community. So what was like just kind of being embraced in Arizona and kind of growing with that group?
It was cool, man. DT, that's my little bro right there. U of A guy. Me and him used to play at Pecos Park all the time. We were young, so he was younger than me, and now he's taller than me. He is crazy. But growing up with him and seeing him grow and mature, and his game has got really, really good. Like I said before, he's at U of A, so growing up with a guy like him, it's great. Still friends today, so that's awesome.
For those that kind of grew up in Arizona, everyone knows that there wasn't much talent. There was some stuff with like Mike Bibby, Richard Jefferson in the early 2000s, but since then it really wasn't much until we saw Marvin Bagley, we saw Mitch Lightfoot, some of those guys, the older group, and then we saw this whole group of Brandon Clarke, yourself, we see Ty Ty, Duran, Dalen, all these guys. So what's it kind of been like being a part of this new era, like this new generation of Arizona players that's kind of up and coming now?
Hey man, it feels good. Arizona's a sleeping state, man. It's a lot of
Mhm.
hoopers in AZ. So for y'all that don't know, that's across the country. Don't sleep on Arizona, bro. There's a lot of hoopers over there. Just like you said, Brandon Clark, myself, Ty Ty Washington. He's getting a lot of pub right now. So there's a lot of hoopers in Arizona. It's a lot of great basketball too, and it's just only gonna get better. So I'm just blessed to be a part of that list. Be in that conversation. So
So you decided to go to Desert Vista as your high school, and a lot of guys might think right out the gate, you being a guy that's not going to be starting at Texas Tech or at least heavily in the rotation, you just went to the tournament, had a great game against Villanova, that you're a guy that probably was starting your entire career on varsity. You're a star player throughout it all. But that wasn't always your journey. You also played JV for the first few years. Like, walk us through that whole journey and what it was like and why you even originally chose to go to DV.
Um, like I said, man, I just give it all to God, bro. So his his journey, his time is on his time. At the time that I wanted to be on varsity and wanted to do this, do that, do that, do that, it just wasn't in the cards for me at that time. I just had to stay patient and keep working. So for
Mhm.
me to go through all those growing pains and seeing my friends being on like McDonald's All-Americans and like top 50 showcases. Like it hurt, obviously. But they knew that I deserved to be on that type of stage, but I just wasn't getting that type of love. So for me, it was just, always staying patient. I always pray for patience. So just staying patient, keep working hard. Like they're going to see you soon. You know what I mean? So for me, being all those things that you just said, it just takes patience and hard work and giving it all to God.
So as a freshman, when you're looking at your old journey, obviously every basketball player wants to play college basketball and then an NBA or something around that route. But when you first were coming into high school, what was your plans like? Did you think you're going to be able to become a guy that's going to go Division I at some point? That could play at Texas Tech at some point? Like, what were your original expectations for yourself heading into high school?
Oh, heading into high school, I wanted to do the whole thing. I wanted to start on varsity first year, go D1, like, the simple story. But I wasn't 6'6", 205 in high school. I was real small. I was, the typical freshman in high school for a original high school, not a super, like, basketball phenom. So for me, I always had that chip on my shoulders. A lot of people would always say, like, he's an underdog and this, and that. Like, I don't think I'm an underdog, but given the circumstances, I was. So for me, it was just, like I said before, just constant work. I always wanted to go to the NBA and play in the NBA for a long time, to take care of my mom and little sister. That's always been a goal of mine, no matter what circumstances came forth, whether it's JV playing for 2-3 years and varsity for 1 year or going MCC. And then the goal is always the same, make it to the league to take care of my mom and sister. So I just got to take the punches and keep rolling with it.
Now, at what point in your career did it start clicking that you thought you could become a Division I player? Like, obviously, it's always the goal, but when it kind of started becoming a reality, you started believing, like, okay, I'm at this level now. I can play at a Division I level. Like, when did that all come together for you?
It was my D2 year when we played two Division I schools, and I had 21 and 18. It was Idaho State, I believe, and Portland State. We played those two, and I had 21 against Idaho State and 18 against Portland State. And then after that, I won the Player of the Year and Newcomer of the Year award. So in my eyes, I was like, yo, I really play this game. I could really do something at the next level, like for real. And I was talking to my mom, my sister, Coach Mike Contreras, Coach Brad at the time. And they was like, yeah, bro, we believe in you, but you got to believe in yourself. And they always knew I believed in myself. So I just had to go attack it and go for it. So the next step after that was I got to go D1. I got to go see what's happening. So that's where Winthrop came in the mix, and I had a good year here. So I just got to keep pushing next level.
So when you mentioned that you weren't the biggest guy, you weren't the same body you have right now when you first came into high school, when did it all start coming together? Like, when did you grow into the 6'6", 210-pound body? Like, when did you kind of start growing into that? And when did you reach 6'6"?
I started growing like my freshman or sophomore year in college. My junior year in high school, I was barely, I'm gonna say like 6'2", barely 6'3", maybe. But my freshman and sophomore year at JUCO and Mesa Community College, I grew to like 6'4", 6'5". And then my junior year, it was like 6'6". And then the weight didn't come until I met, shout out Coach Eli Foy here at Winthrop University. The transformation pictures that everybody saw in March Madness that's all him. That's all him. That's Adonis getting here, let's work. Like I had no say in the matter. It was pick up these weights, do this lift, and then you'll get the result. And that's what happened.
Those that might not know exactly everything you bring to a team probably know at least one part, and that's your athleticism. We know you are a freak athlete. You've got sports in our top 10 plays before. You've had many others that debatably could be on that list too. When did the athleticism come to you? Like, was that always something you had? Did that come in high school, college? Like, when did you get the athleticism?
That's a great question. Honestly, I don't even know where it came from because in high school I wasn't lifting, I wasn't doing squats, I wasn't doing none of that. A lot of my friends ask me where I get my balance from, and I say eating ramen noodles. So, I mean, I honestly I don't even know, man. I just thank God for it, and I keep working. And I think the pit shark here at Winthrop enhanced my athleticism and gave me more bounce. But before then, it had to be the noodles and sleep. Had to.
So have you always had the athleticism then?
Yeah, I think I've always had it, but I just didn't really tap into it as much as I should have.
Now, for those that know the Desert Vista team, obviously guys in that program were Brandon Clarke. We know he's a high flyer playing for Memphis now. He's a special player. Those that probably guys might not know Quincy Taylor, but he obviously is one of the most freakish athletes too. But all these guys, like, what were those practices like? All you guys that are super bouncy, athletic, what are those practices like?
I mean, they was fierce. You know, like you said, you got Brandon Clarke. He's like, I think he's the all-time shot blocker at Desert Vista. Quincy, like you said, has a crazy bounce. He's from Milwaukee as well.
Mm-hmm.
So he has crazy bounce. Tarek Cool is a point guard for us. Caleb Simmons, he's playing at San Jose State right now. More guys, Antoine Baker, he's playing. So it was a lot of talent on the team, and every practice was fierce. It was tough. It was crazy. Like, we'll be angry at each other, we'll go at each other, but it made each other better at the same time. So being in those practices, you know, playing against high talented people and, you know, coaches, it was fun.
You saw the transformation of Brandon, even throughout high school. That wasn't his final image. Obviously, we saw he had to go to a different college, then goes to Gonzaga and creates his name there. But when you're with young Brandon, before he really grew into himself and became the guy in the NBA now, a first round NBA draft pick, what was Brandon like when he's younger, like in high school, kind of developing? What was that Brandon like?
Oh, Brandon always was nice, yo. He always had it. You know, I always knew he had it.
Mm-hmm.
But he was real cool. Brandon was just Brandon. Like, even now, I talk to Brandon all the time. He's the same dude, man. Like,
Mm-hmm.
he's goofy, he's funny, plays video games or whatever. That's just Brandon. But in high school, he was just, you know, cool. You know, just not doing much, not saying much, going to class, doing his thing, going to practice, and, you know, killing. So Brandon was Brandon. I mean, there's no difference that I see.
I can imagine it got pretty hard for you at times when you're still not making varsity. You finally make it your senior year, but those first 3 years not making varsity, and you see the guys that are your same class playing varsity, guys that are across the country, like you said, getting all these awards, accolades, rankings, offers. Were you getting down on yourself? Like, was that how hard was it on you? How'd you handle that throughout your first 3 years?
Absolutely, absolutely. It was very tough, man. Like I said, the road was frustrating because I knew I was better enough to be on varsity my second year, but you know, the opportunity just wasn't given to me. So I just, like I said before, I just give it to God, my mom, my sister, Coach Mike, Coach Brad, for always like constantly saying, you know, you're good enough, you're good enough, you're good enough. Just keep working, don't give up, just keep working. And some of the guys on the team, they got to a point where they were like, I'm not playing unless Adonis is playing. Like, I can vividly remember one game, Caleb Simmons was not going into the game. One of the coaches came down to sub him in. He said, no, put Adonis in. And I will never forget that and ever in my life. And I shout out to him. That's my brother for life. But just things like that, man. Just always believing in yourself, never giving up. You never know when your time's coming. So for me, it was a long, long road. And I just never gave up and kept working.
And when you talk about going different options, like there's a lot of guys today that are going to take the route of transferring, which I'm open to. Obviously, that's what guys do in college, high school. Like, you find the best fit for yourself. Were you ever looking at, like, were you ever considering going to a different high school, transferring somewhere for better opportunity?
Yeah, it was a lot of schools. Before I even decided to go to Desert Vista, I was either gonna go to Corona del Sol or Mountain Point,
Mm-hmm.
and those two, and Chaparral, but Chaparral was just too far.
Yeah.
But so, you know, it was always in a discussion. But I had my friends at Desert Vista. Like, I didn't want to switch schools at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I really loved playing with them. It was basketball related. I didn't want to go to another school to join another basketball team. I really, since I'm out of high school now, I did not want to go to Mountain Point. I had friends over there, but they were our rivals, so I didn't
Mm-hmm.
want to join them, and that would have been weird. So, no, I just stuck it out, man. Like, in college is different because
Mm-hmm.
that's really where your life is. You know, you can change it, but in high school, nah, not too much. I'll just chill and keep working.
Going back to the dunk offs, like when you talk about you, Brandon, and obviously Quincy, who would have won the dunk contest? Like, give us in ranking order, like 1, 2, and 3. Who's winning the dunk contest between you three?
If we talking about right now,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna say I'm gonna win. But if we talking about back then in high school, I'll probably give it to Quincy
Mm-hmm.
because his bounce in high school, I didn't know what he was on. I was like, what? That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now you see all these other guys in the state kind of developing up and coming too, and one of those guys that ultimately your team plays and loses the state championship to is Corona del Sol, and that's with Marvin Bagley. And we know who Marvin is, obviously, but they also got the Saban Lee,
Mm-hmm.
Alex Barcelo and company. What was like seeing that team and just obviously watching Marvin develop over his time there?
That team was dominant, man. They made other teams shake and was scared. But yeah, that team was dominant. You had a young Marvin that was running fast, jumping, blocking everything. Just everybody know who Marvin Bagley is. So he was doing his thing. And then you got a young, fierce point guard, and Alex Barcelo shooting threes, talking his junk, like, and he's just crazy, man. And then you got Tyrell Henderson that was on the team at the time as well. Saban Lee was definitely on there. Him with his athleticism and all his stuff. So, playing against that team was crazy, man. Just got to be ready. At that time in high school, it was just hoop, just play. But for me, again, I didn't really have the opportunity to play against those guys at that stage. So, I was just really like ready, frustrated, locked in a cage type. But I'm always ready.
I know there's some other big names in the state too. I believe Marcus Howard obviously was out there at Perry. I'm not sure if you got to go up against him in any games, but he was there. Mitch Lightfoot, a few other big guys. But who was like your favorite guy in that state to go up against? Like personally, like one guy specifically that you love matching up against. Who was that guy?
In high school, I don't really think I had a guy that I wanted to play up against, but I wasn't afraid of any of them. I remember Marcus Howard, he was going crazy at Perry for sure. He was going absolutely, yeah, he was insane at Perry. But I don't think there's a guy that I would be like, yeah, that's the guy I want to go against. Like, I don't think there was a guy, but it was multiple guys that I would be like, we could all get to it though. You know what I mean? But that's it.
The senior year, you do make the varsity team, and obviously probably still wasn't the dream role. You were still getting a ton of minutes out there, but you're on varsity finally. So what was that senior year like for you?
Senior year was senior year, man. It's time to shine, do your thing, do the best you can with the opportunity that you're given. That's always been my role. That's always been my mentality, Kobe mentality. Don't worry about it. Just keep working. Your work gonna show. So for me, I was just trying to have fun, do the best I can, and try to take another step forward into becoming the player that I wanted to be at the time.
Now, when we look at that point, you don't have a lot of Division One offers at all. You decided to go to the JUCO route, which obviously we decided to go Mesa Community College. But at that point in time, like what was going through your mind? Once again, your goal was playing Division One. You want to make this lifestyle for yourself. What was going through your mind when you didn't have the offers that you wanted?
Going through my mind was frustration. Again, I was always telling my mom, like, I'm gonna make it. I promise you, I'm not gonna fail for y'all. But I did. I failed multiple times along the way. And for me, man, it was just like, I don't want my mom and sister living in an apartment for the rest of their life. Like, I just don't like that. You know what I mean? And so for me, it was just focus. You go in JUCO, you got 2 years or 1 year, you choose. So for me, it was just focus, stay ready, go in and do the best you can, and you're going to go D1. Like, I told myself that every single day, you're going D1, you're going D1. So the mindset of, hard work paying off, don't let nobody phase you. Nobody's better than you on the court when you walk in, that type of mentality. So for me, JUCO is the doghouse. So if you make it out of JUCO, you're going to be straight.
Now, I'm a big fan of guys that take the JUCO route because, like you said, it gives you the dog mentality and it makes you fight for your next opportunity. But once again, it's not the easiest path for a lot of guys, too. There's a lot of things that are hard about JUCO. And for you, too, like there are some conferences that we know that get guys easily to Division One, like schools like Tallahassee, some of those schools out there. Mesa Community College doesn't produce a lot of high major type guys. It's not known for a power plant in terms of talent. So how are you able to make it out? Like, how are you able to get an opportunity then to Division Two? Like, how did that all come to be?
JUCO, they got this thing at Mesa Community College called the Fiesta Bowl, and that's what we play, like Salt Lake Community College, Indian Hills. Like, we play some powerhouse schools, and that's your opportunity right there to do the best you can, kill them, and then you'll get eyes on you. And for me, I always take those opportunities with a grain of salt. Like, even if I don't do well, you got to always remember that there's still games left, that you can still do things, that you can still do this, do that, do that. So for me, it was just work, focus, And then when I got to the D2 level, again, it was the same thing. Like, I'm not supposed to be here. Some of my teammates even told me, like, why are you here and stuff like that. So shout out to Obi Megwa. He was at Northwest Nazarene. He was a teammate on Mesa Community College my freshman year. And he always told me, like, bro, you're the best out here, and I'm not just saying that because I'm out here. You feel me? Like, it's just a fact. So, your time is going to come. And when it does, bro, you're going to shine. I promise you. And he always gives me that confidence even now when I'm putting my name into the transfer portal, going to Texas Tech, even at Winthrop. He was like, bro, you're the best on the court. I promise you. Like, I'm watching this. Like, just keep believing in yourself. Like,
So why do you think all this was? Why do you think you didn't get the opportunity throughout high school until your senior year for varsity? Why do you think there wasn't a lot of offers coming out of high school? And then obviously there wasn't any Division One offers after JUCO. Like, why do you think all that was for you?
Honestly, man, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe school is just like, yeah, let's see Adonis work a little harder. Like I honestly don't know. Maybe it was just God's plan of like, I want to see what he'll do with this situation and see if
Mhm.
he'll give up in this situation. And nah, I'm not going for that. I want something, I'm gonna go get it, guaranteed.
So going through that JUCO career for you a little bit, obviously, like I said, it's not an easy job. It's a dogfight out there because we know that you're in a locker room where all those guys want to play basketball more than just 2 years. But if you don't get that offer after 2 years, your career is pretty much over at that point. So what's the mentality like in a JUCO atmosphere?
Oh yeah, man. JUCO atmosphere is kind of rough because everybody, like you said, wants the same thing that you want. So
Mhm.
there's not a lot of camaraderie in a JUCO locker room, in my opinion. For where I was at, I had a few friends, but other than that, everybody had to like they wanted something. You know, they wanted either a Division I scholarship, they wanted your spot, they wanted your minutes. Like somebody wanted something from you. So for me, growing up in Milwaukee, I always had that. Going to the park, like somebody wants something from you, like it's your shoes, like something. Somebody wants something from you, but you can't let them take that. So being in JUCO, it was nothing to me. I knew that I had my spot. Nobody was gonna take my spot. If you want to take my spot, you couldn't. So that was me. Just like I said, man, just work and focus, and you're not taking my spot. Being the best player out there, showing that confidence.
Your freshman year out there, you averaged 10 points per game, and then there's a big jump. Your sophomore year would land you a Division II offer. You average 13 points per game. You get second team all conference, MVP of your team, third team all region. What allowed you to have that big of a breakout your sophomore year?
I think it was the work during the summer and all the training and all of that. You know, just staying persistent with my trainer in Arizona and having that killer mindset. Like you got to go in here and you got to do your thing.
Mhm.
Like I said, Kobe is my favorite player of all time. Rest in peace. And he never took no from nobody. He never shied away from any type of competition, any type of best player on the court, nothing like that. He went out there and he was Kobe Bryant. So I went out there and I was Adonis Arms, and you know the rest played out for itself.
This is where your story really gets unique because a lot of guys will take the JUCO route and then they get a high major offer somewhere. And then a lot of guys too, maybe some guys will get Division II out of high school, they move up then to Division I after that. But you think at this point that okay, now you're trying to go Division I, but you decide to go Division II. What was that like? Why did you decide to go out there to Northwest Nazarene, and how are you feeling at that point having to go to Division II out of JUCO?
Honestly, I didn't even want to go to Northwest Nazarene. I didn't. I was, my confidence was through the roof. I went to go D1. I wanted to prove to everybody that I was a D1 player and this, and that. And my mom, my sister, and Obi Megwa, like I said previously, they really had a grip on that. There was like, you don't have to prove yourself to nobody. You want to go to the NBA. Everybody's road is different, and you gotta go with what's blessed for you. My mom tells me all the time, God has a plan for you. No man can take it. So for me, going D2, I didn't want to do it, like I said before, but I had to believe in Coach Rush, Coach Rhodes, Coach Hawkins at the time, Levi Stewart, and those guys to make sure that I could make my dream still come true from the D2 level. Obi Megwa being the starter, being the star on that team, I had to make sure it was cool with him that I came in and he wanted me there. He was like, bro, this is your show. Like, come in, do your thing. I already know you're going to kill it. So just come in and do your thing. So me hearing that gave me some type of comfort and confidence to go in there and play the best I could. So I did.
So you go out there in the very beginning, and like once again, your mentality is I want to go to Division I as soon as possible. And you go out there and you average 21 points a game, 5 rebounds, 3 assists. You guys go 20-8 that year. You win a whole lot of different awards. But what was that year like for you?
That year was a mission year. I knew I wasn't supposed to be D2. I knew I didn't want to go D2, but it was the cards that I had to play with. So for me, I'm always in the gym, getting my shots up, doing my dribbling drills, attacking the rim, just getting better any way I could. So that's what it was, man. Just I need to get out of here the fastest way I can, and the best way I can is dominating every game, being the best every single game, winning games, obviously, because you can't win games and think you're going D1. That's not happening. They want winners. So that's what I tried to do. That's what we tried to do. And then it was a great situation. I love those guys still. I talk to all of them still. And yeah.
From your personal opinion, obviously both routes you took, JUCO and Division II, are routes that guys sometimes use to propel themselves to Division I. but which one's harder? Like which environment's harder? Which locker room's harder to be a part of? Like which one's harder between JUCO and Division two?
I'm gonna say JUCO. I'm gonna say JUCO's harder. D2 is it's a step up to go to Division One. I'm not gonna say it's easier, but you have a better chance to go D1 if you play the best you can and you show out and do all you can. But
Mm-hmm.
JUCO is the doghouse. I'm telling you, like if you make it out of JUCO, I got respect for you. I promise you, because it's a lot of kids that there's a lot of distractions. There's too many distractions in JUCO that could rail you off to do something that you're not supposed to be doing. So it's just that focus aspect. Like JUCO is definitely harder than D2 for sure.
Then you go through this recruiting process, and this is after your breakout season at Nazarene. So what was going through your options? And you obviously just decided to go to Winthrop, which is obviously where you create your name and whatnot. But what went into the decision? Like, why is Winthrop the school you chose?
I'm gonna give that credit all to my mom, man. She thought Winthrop was the best decision for me. I didn't really know where I wanted to go at the time. My mom insisted that Winthrop was the best decision. I really like Coach Eli Foy, how he changed DeAndre Ayton's body when he was at U of A, and he made his body like crazy big. And I was like, yeah, I want that though. Like that's what I need. I need my body to change. So that aspect alone, I was like, yeah, I want to go to Winthrop. But they're up and down offense, running and gunning, shooting a lot of threes, attacking the rim, using screens, all that stuff. When I saw on film, I wanted to be a part of, and they won. So I wanted to be a part of a winning program, and I was back-to-back champions. And I'll tell me that I was going to do that out of JUCO, I would have told you lying. But I'm just blessed, man.
Sidetracking a little bit, you've been in many, many states throughout your life now. We're talking about Wisconsin, Arizona. You've been now, you're going to be going to Texas upcoming year. You were in Idaho, like all these different states you've been in. Which ones have been your favorite states? Like if you could personally pick somewhere to live, rank your top three out of them all.
I'll say Arizona's number one.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take Milwaukee too, because that's the hometown or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm going to Texas. Texas is probably third. South Carolina's cool. I love the green. It's all that, but it's not better than Texas. Idaho is not in any competition with any of those states. So I'll take Arizona, Milwaukee, and then Texas.
Absolutely. Well, you go into that, and you also have to take your redshirt year, which is part of this whole debate we've been having now within the basketball world, which is where now you guys don't have to sit out a year. But what's your thoughts on that? Because I know some guys say, well, the positive is getting the redshirt year is you get to learn the system a little better. You get to kind of get to know the coach, the team better, learn the life of Division I basketball. Was that beneficial for you, and how much did that kind of help you then for what your breakout season was this past year?
My redshirt season was very helpful and successful. I chose to put all my energy into the weights from our redshirt year. Basketball is basketball, so like film comes easy to me. Watching basketball film is easy.
Mm-hmm.
Catching plays is easy, but the weights was my main focus because that's what I wanted. I wanted my body to change. So for my redshirt year, I put all my energy into that. Protein shakes, eating, making sure I'm getting my sleep, all that good stuff. But I think it's very beneficial. Some guys look at redshirt years like, I'm not playing, so I don't want to do that. But at the end of the day, you got to look at what's best for your future, not in the present. And for me, I wanted my future to be brighter than my present. So I chose to do that, knowing that I was going to have to redshirt anyways. I was like, yeah, I'm going to just be in the weight room.
Now, the crazy thing is that at that point in time, you didn't really realize you're still going to have a couple more years of playing college basketball. So, like, now it's kind of going a little bit in front, but, like, knowing that you're going to be able to play 6 years collegiately and you've played all over the place now, like, what's it like thinking that you've been 6 years of college experience now?
I don't even know, man. 6 years of basketball in college is ridiculous. It's crazy. I never thought, I'm not going to say thank you for COVID because all of the bad things that COVID brought, but thank you for COVID. You know what I mean? Like without this last year of us going to March Madness and it all being canceled, and then this year we get a free year because of that. It was just like you can't explain that. Like you just something you can't explain. You just got to be like, thank you, God, because you never know what will happen. So, yeah.
We touched up on your growth a little bit earlier on, but now if you said this, that redshirt year is where you're able to pack in all the muscle you really grew into the body you now have. So when you look at this, like, how did you handle that? Because most guys are not going to be growing throughout college, let alone 4 or 5 inches like you did, and add the amount of weight you added on. So how has your body adjusted to adding this height, this weight in the past few years?
I went through a lot of pain. I went through a lot of pain. Sleeping, yeah, it was not pretty. Going into practice knowing that my knees, my patella tendons was gonna hurt really, really bad. I had to use the little straps. If I didn't have the straps, I'd use the little yellow, little stretchy tape or whatever it's called to put around my knees, and it was painful, man. But at the end of the day, I wasn't worried about that. Like I wanted to be great at basketball. That's what I want to be. I want to be great. So whatever happens, if it's not gonna kill me, then it's whatever. But at the end of the day, growing and putting all that weight on was tough. It was very tough.
So you're going to be coached by a coach that clearly has did an incredible job out there at Winthrop, and that's why he now got the new promotion out there to go to College of Charleston. But what was like just being around Coach Kelsey, like just learning from him, having him be your coach for 1 year, but also just kind of teaching you and coaching you throughout your redshirt year? What was he just like as a coach?
Coach Kelsey is crazy, but at the same time, he's smart, man. Like
Mm-hmm.
he's the only coach that I know will really get on the ground and like act what he's saying. You know, like you gotta slide over here, you gotta run over here. Like he'll actually do those things on the court, and I've never seen a coach do that in my life. So me seeing that, I'm sitting back, I'm looking around like, yo, he do this every day. Like, yeah, this is Coach Kelsey. But man, he's smart. He's a great coach. He got Coach of the Year this past year. Congratulations again to him.
Mm-hmm.
He's a great dude. You know, I wouldn't. There's nothing bad I can say about Coach Kelsey. He's a great dude. He's a great dad. He's always in the gym having fun. So College of Charleston is getting a gym for sure. He's a good dude.
You also got to know him personally going through your 2 years out there. So what's like on the personal side? Because a lot of people just get to see coaches for what they do as a coach. Some people might get interviews here or there, but getting to see him on the personal side, off the court, what's like in that aspect?
Off the court, he's off the court, but he's still on the court. All he talk about is basketball. All he talk about is how we gonna get better, how we gonna win. Do you want to watch film? Like I'm trying to eat my waffles, bro. I'm not really trying to watch film right now, but he'll still turn it on anyways. Like he's always trying to get better. So that's who he is off the court. He's still a coach. I mean, I don't really know. I don't know what he does outside of basketball. But I know he's always with his little boy Johnny Ball game, playing baseball or whatever in the backyard with his wife and his daughter. So he's a good dude, man. Like I said before.
You mentioned film a couple of different times, and that's something that's critical for a lot of guys' development. But how much film do you put in? Like, what does your typical day look like when you're out there at Winthrop throughout your career? Like, how much film do you do? Like, what does that look like?
After practice, I'll usually ask A-Train for the film of the practice, and I'll watch it, or I'll go into the coach's offices, and we'll always watch film. Chloe always had defense. Coach Gray had offense. And if you want to go to the head honcho's office, Coach Kelsey had all of it. So
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really go to Coach Kelsey's office all that much to watch film, but I went to Cloman and Coach Gray just get both sides. That was an everyday thing. You didn't have to go if you didn't want to. I didn't go every time. I'm not gonna sit here and say I did. But I had my own film on my phone that I watch before I go to sleep and all that stuff.
So then you get ready for what was eventually this past breakout season for yourself. And ultimately, I think any guy says, yeah, I want to go out there, get a ton of minutes, start, and be the lead guy. But you're in a unique situation where this is a low to mid major type of school that has a chance to make the tournament. Obviously, you guys end up doing that. So this is a team that's kind of settled in. We know there's DJ out there. We know there's all this talent already set in stone. How did you accept your bench role this past year?
I mean, it was cool. I mean, I'm not gonna put my individual accolades over the team's success. If it takes me to come off the bench to win games and be the best player that I have to be, then I'm gonna just do that. Obviously, I knew I could start. Everybody on the team knew I should have been starting, but I'm not gonna question a head coach's decision on that. I'll go to his office and ask him why am I not, and do it in practice, show him that I can do those things. But if he doesn't start me, that's his decision. I can't force a head coach to do what he wants to do. But for me, it's nothing different. It's nothing new. It's just focus and keep working. I'm just gonna shine wherever I go anyway. So just keep working.
Now, a lot of guys do get upset, though. A lot of guys do start complaining, sometimes affect the locker room, not want to accept that role and embrace it. Like you said, though, you chose the exact opposite. You embraced it and helped you guys go 23-2, win the conference, go to the tournament. But was that something that just kind of was self-instilled in you? Like, did you always just say, okay, I'm just going to keep pushing through my role? Did someone kind of help you through that? Like, when did that kind of mentality get set into you?
Yeah, it's my mom and my sister. I'm gonna give them all the credit.
Mhm.
Every day I'll just call them. I'll be, upset, frustrated, like why am I not? Why am I not? But they always tell me like you shouldn't be worrying about that. Like we all know you should be starting. We all know this, and this and that. But that's just not for you right now. So you just gotta work. Just be you. Like you're gonna shine. Like people gonna see you. Just work. I was being called a difference maker when I came into the games and stuff with all my playmaking ability and dunks and block shots and all that stuff. So my mom was just, you always make an impact, You don't need to start to make an impact, but we know that you should be. Just don't worry about that. Just keep working, do the best you can, and we always gonna love you. So I just took that and I said, yes, ma'am, yes, sissy, and I went for it.
And here's the other big thing about coming off the bench. We know that, like you've said multiple times, your end goal is the NBA, at least professional at some degree. That's a valuable role because we know there's only five starters every time. They're going to play five or six guys off the bench in the NBA. So we've seen a lot of guys in college, even the guys that get drafted top three, top five, Scotty Barnes, Patrick Williams last year, like they don't start throughout their college career. How impactful is that for you? Like when you get to see this game kind of get going for a little bit, you kind of get to watch how the flow of the game's looking. How does that help you then coming off the bench, kind of getting to see the other team play a little bit?
It helps a lot because I can see who I'm guarding. I can see his weaknesses and his strengths. I can see which dominant hand he uses, or does he use both hands? Does he finish with both hands? Like I see a lot of little things. I see the reaction of the coach if somebody shoots it and he obviously doesn't like that. He starts freaking out. So on the defensive end, I want to make you shoot that shot 1,000 times so you can make it. Like little things like that. When I start, it's the same thing. It just takes a little longer.
Mhm.
To like recognize what people do well and what they don't do well and stuff like that. But it's a huge advantage when you come off the bench because you can watch for a little bit and you can see what driving lanes are available for you, what type of shots you be able to take, pick and roll aspect. Are they jumping or are they backing up, sagging,
Mhm.
stuff like that.
Well, that's Winthrop thing for you is discuss this whole bubble thing because we know how big of a thing it was this past year. The NBA did their bubble. We saw obviously MLB did their thing. Like all the stuff was about bubbles the past year, and then college puts their little thing together, and you guys had to go through that. Like, what was it like being a part of the bubble and just the bubble lifestyle?
Bubble lifestyle is tragic. I do not like the bubble lifestyle, man, especially with all the COVID tests and all that stuff. It's really really tragic. My dad actually came from March Madness and they wouldn't let him in. He had to like deliver something for me to see him for like 3 seconds, but yeah, it was crazy. Very restricted. You couldn't do much. You always in your hotel room, cut off from other teams, stuff like that. You had a tracker. It was crazy, man.
Another worst part about that was that you guys had to stay in your room, I believe, for 2 days to start the whole thing off. What was the first 2 days like just chilling in your room by yourself?
First 2 days was like the start of summer vacation, but you couldn't go outside and you couldn't have no friends over. So mainly for me, it was homework that I had to do or 2K or Fortnite. So for me, and then ESPN, Sports Center, and sleep. That was basically it.
And ultimately, you guys didn't win your first game out there, but we know every kid growing up, you always fill those brackets out. You're always watching March Madness. And to be able to step foot on that court, you're playing in one of those bracket games that means something. And you guys even competed with Villanova pretty well throughout the course of that game. You had a solid game too. But just what was it like just getting on that court and truly being a part of March Madness?
It was different, man. I want to go back so bad. With this team, I think we got an opportunity to do that with Texas Tech. So for me, bro, it was a dream come true in that sense of making it to March Madness and actually playing in March Madness. My friends taking pictures of me on the court, like, bro, you're actually in March Madness. Like, this is crazy. Like, I'm filling out a bracket and I got Winthrop winning against Villanova, and you're on that team. And I was like, yeah, bro, that's crazy. So just walking out on the court and playing against a great team like Villanova, unfortunately we came up short, but playing against that team and playing in the tournament, it's a beautiful thing, man. It's a lifelong dream that every athlete in America that plays basketball has. You can't tell me you don't, you know?
Mhm. So then, like you said earlier, in a way, or not in a way, it is a blessing in disguise, but the whole COVID thing comes into play. Obviously, we wish it didn't happen, but it provided guys a lot of opportunities in many different fields of life. But for basketball guys in college, gives you another extra year to come out there and play. And once again, your goal is the NBA, and you're off the bench last year on a solid team, but this gives you a chance to go to a high major. And you had a lot of options on the table: Iowa State, BYU, Oklahoma State, Butler. List goes on. So kind of take us to life in the transfer portal and really how you came to Texas Tech.
For me, going into the transfer portal, I already knew that I wanted three things that was going to make a difference in a team. It was trust, opportunity, and exposure. For me, one of the coaches actually that was recruiting me gave me this gem. He said that being in recruiting, you can't really trust nobody that well because you don't know them. So you got to go in with blind trust. You got to have that gut feeling. And that really stuck with me. So when he said that, I knew that I couldn't really trust the words. I had to trust like your vibe, how you go off. And it's really hard to see your vibe off of a camera. So when I felt that with Coach Adams and Coach Perry at Texas Tech, I knew it was right, but I just didn't want to say nothing yet. The exposure part, I mean, they're in the Big 12. It's one of the best conferences in America, in my opinion. So being there, you're playing all the biggest teams that you can. And I need that. I want that. Opportunity. Coach Adams and Coach Perry told me multiple times that I'm going to have an opportunity to start and, play the minutes that I want to play and all that stuff, but nothing is guaranteed. You know what I mean? You got to come in here. You got to show us. You got to prove that you are Adonis Arms, the person that we recruited. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. And I don't shy away from competition. Like I said before, my favorite player is Kobe Bryant. Competition doesn't scare me. It doesn't shy me away from anything. I'll go in there. I'll do what I have to do to make my dreams come true. And those three things had Texas Tech separated from the rest.
Was there another school you'd say if they finished number 2 for you? Like, was this someone that you really did like that was besides Texas Tech?
I liked a lot of schools, but they weren't they didn't have the exposure factor that I wanted. Iowa State was cool, but I didn't really have that trust vibe, thing with them. So I wasn't gonna do that. Same thing with Butler. Oklahoma State was cool, but I didn't have that gut feeling. But a school like if Nicholls State was in a higher conference, I would have probably went there if Texas Tech never came in, but their conference is just too low, didn't have enough exposure. University of Portland, they're in the West Coast Conference, so you got to go over Gonzaga and BYU. BYU is recruiting me as well. They're in a great conference against Gonzaga, West Coast Conference, but I just didn't feel right. So Texas Tech was the best one for me.
Well, we do know your new head coach now is someone that obviously looks like a great coach. We'll see how he performs now out there. But we know as a whole, Texas Tech fans are a little upset about the past scenario that happened. We know Coach Beard is one of the best coaches in college basketball. He moves out to Texas, and Coach Adams comes in, though. So what can fans expect from him? Obviously, it's going to be a little hurt still about not having Coach Beard, but how excited should fans be for this new Coach Mark Adams era?
I think they should be very excited. He's a defensive guru. He is very smart. I mean, he's a good coach. So this is his opportunity to put a stamp on the Big 12. Like, I shouldn't be overlooked. I'm not going to overlook him. Coach Perry, his associate head coach, he's a great coach as well. The rest of the coaching staff, I'm pretty sure they're fantastic people, let alone going on as coaches. So for me, Coach Adams, I believe in him. He believes in me. I have nothing but faith in him and the work that he's going to put in at Tech.
Now, this team is looking pretty solid. Obviously, we've had a few different transfers come in. KJ Allen flopped his commitment to come out there. Chandler also is coming in from D2, coming up there to play, as well as some returns guys coming back. Mac McClung's coming back, which is a huge addition to the team. A lot of different pieces. Kevin, I believe, is coming back. Like, looking the way this roster is kind of coming together at this point in time, how special are you guys and how excited should fans be for this team in general next year?
I think fans should be really excited. Like you said, you got Mac McClung. He's a big time player. He got a lot of juice on his name. He's a good dude, good player. Kevin, he's a good dude. I was talking to him the other day. KJ Allen, I was just watching him on Last Chance U basketball, dunk everything. So playing with him, throwing him lobs would be fun. And everybody else, I mean, they're ready. I was just talking to Clarence not even 3 hours ago, talking about playing Fortnite and all that stuff. So they seem like good dudes. They ready to work. They just waiting on me to get there. So I'm ready to go.
So what can fans expect from you? We've discussed your athleticism. We know you're a freak athlete, but give us the whole package. Like, what's coming with you and what will you bring to Texas Tech next year?
I'm going to bring the whole thing, the whole package. I think I'm a versatile player. I can shoot, score, I can pass, rebound, play defense, block shots. I can do everything. So I think the fans it's gonna be a real show when I show up to Lubbock, and I'm gonna have fun with it. Do the best I can, like I always do. Stay focused, like I always do, and give all the glory to God. So that's what fans can expect from me.
Absolutely, man. Well, a couple more things before I let you go. One of which is now you look at this entire journey, and as I said, it's one of the more unique journeys I've ever seen, and we know everything you just went through. So you look back at that now, and now you are at a place that can help propel you to the NBA. You're at a place in Texas Tech, top of the chain right now. But you look at all the stops you've made, all the journeys, all the ups and downs. Like, what kind of just goes through your mind right now?
I can't believe it's happening. Like I can't explain it. This makes no sense. Never would I have thought. Like the other day, a guy asked me, if I asked you 5 years ago that you'll be at Texas Tech, would you believe me? And I said, no, no way. There's not a chance. But like I said, it's not up to me. It's up to the big guy up there. And like I said, man, like my mom always tells me, God has a plan for you that no man can take. So I'm just blessed, just taking it all in, blessed and thankful, really.
If you put your whole stuff together, both you on and off the court, like the entire personality of you, what's the one word you'd use to describe yourself?
One word, I say chill. I say chill.
Absolutely, man. Well, something I was like wrapping up discussing is building a legacy for yourself, and we know that that's ultimately what all guys want to be remembered for something. So when you are done playing basketball someday, what do you want to be remembered for what you achieved both on and off the court?
I'll just probably remember for the willingness to not give up, honestly. Like if you started at the beginning of my story to where I am now, I don't believe a lot of guys would have just kept going and kept believing in themselves and not give up. So for me, I just think the definition of not giving up, that's me.
And I want to get into faith a little bit too, because I know you're also a believer. You mentioned that many times throughout this, and me being a believer too. Obviously, we all know how much God impacts the day-to-day life. But how have you seen God? Like, how has God helped get you to the point you're at today?
God has done so many things that I can't even explain to you that only make sense with Him. You know what I mean? Like that it doesn't add up. Like I don't know. But Him being a huge impact on my life and my family's life is number one on my list every single time. Without Him, there's no way I'm waking up in the morning. There's no way that my stomach is getting full. Like just the little things in life. He always finds a way to get me through that because He knows that I believe in Him. I trust Him. I gave my life over to Him. So Christ and believing in Him and loving is something that, you can only feel for yourself when you put yourself that far into following Him. And you would know things that happen in your life that you can't really explain, that I only know like it was because of God. Like it was because of Him. So that's my life. That's my whole life. Like all of this is possible because of Him. Giving all the glory to Him every single time.
I know growing up in a Christian household, like you're kind of brought into it from a young age, but eventually there's always that point where you kind of break off and you form that own personal bond with God. So when was that for you? Like when would you say you truly started forming that personal connection with God?
I'll say D2. I say D2. When I was really like I'm with Him like 100%, 100%. Because at first I like all the kids I grew up with always get dragged to church, and I didn't really want to wake up to go to church. Like I'll act like I was asleep in bed or something, and my mom would like walk in and like look at me, walk out, walk in, and put water on my face. Like, yo, you're going to church. Like, get up, like, let's go. Stuff like that. And I didn't really want to go to church. Like when you force me to do something, especially church, like I don't want to do it. Like I want to go by myself. So, just me falling into Him by myself, I think that's really what helped me do it on my own, not really being forced to. I love my grandma, I love my mom, but man, I just want to do it by myself, So I'll say D2.
My last thing about God is when you look at yourself, you're someone that's obviously decided to go out there and you're really outspoken about your faith. You discussed it multiple times here. You put all over social media. What's led you to be so outspoken? Because there's a lot of guys that are believers that might kind of keep a little more quiet to themselves about it. But what's made you and why did you decide to go out there and be so vocal about your faith?
I'm not afraid to rep something I believe in. I mean, everybody's different. Everybody has their own style, their own drip. And for me, I mean, I'm putting God everywhere. If you don't like it, I mean, I'm sorry. I'm not going to stop doing it. That's who I believe in. That's the guy that gave me life. that's what I believe in, like I said before. So, I mean, different guys have their own drip, their own style. For me, it's God.
Amen, man. Well, my final thing for you, give Texas Tech fans your three biggest goals you have set for your Texas Tech career.
3 goals: win championships, March Madness. That's it.
Absolutely, man. Well, congratulations on the big move once again. I'm excited to see what God got next for you and appreciate you taking time to come on today, man. Of
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. Thank you for everything. God bless.
course, man. You're all welcome on, man. God bless you too.
Yeah, Reckon.